Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be continuing watching the How to Trolldier series by Soundsmith. I cannot wait to watch this. Today's video is called These Rocks Are Awesome. So far this series has been great, so I'm sure this one is going to be fantastic. And thank you so much to everybody that's been supporting the channel here lately. I really appreciate your support, man. You guys are awesome. You're killing it. And with that being said, if you're new, do not forget to hit that sub button. Please, thank you. And let's go ahead and jump into it.
Before we get started, a lot of the concepts and jumps shown in this video assume that the viewer has a basic understanding of rocket jumping and has a good handle on the fundamentals. If you're still struggling with that, I'd highly recommend you go check out Nate Fox's basic jumping tutorial and getting the topics that he covers in that video down. Okay? Okay, disclaimer over. Let's start the video. I briefly mentioned this in my previous Trolldier video, but I figured it was important enough to warrant its own video. These rocks are some of the most useful props I have ever seen in all of TF2. The thing is, nobody seems to use them, and I don't blame them really. I mean, hell, what could you possibly get out of a pile of boulders?
It's not just a boulder.
I love this!
Okay, seriously though, they might just look like a collection of boring props that were added in to give them some visual interest, but these rocks are awesome. It's not just for Trolldier either. Every single class can get some use out of these rocks, and some of what I'm going to talk about today will apply with them as well. That said, I'm going to focus on how to utilize the rocks as a Trolldier, since that's the only thing in this game that I'm not complete shit at, since it's one of the only things that I'm qualified to speak on. So let's get started. First, I want to talk about how the rocks impact the map visually. They are extremely useful for blocking sightlines, especially from snipers. Now, I briefly mentioned this in my video about the stair slide jump, but I'd like to go more in depth and cover some more applications. When you're Trolldering, you're at your most vulnerable when you aren't jumping. Soldier's walking speed is the second slowest in the game, which puts you at a huge disadvantage. For the most part, you want your jumps to start in a relatively safe place. You don't want someone looking right at you when you're reloading or setting up for the jump. Now, this is in part why the classic stair slide jump is very dangerous. If you jump off of this crate here, then you're standing right in a huge sight line. And if the sniper sees you walking up to the crate, well, there's really not that much you can do. Lucky for us, though, we've got these rocks to help us out. If you start your jump in a slightly different spot, then the sight line is blocked, meaning the sniper can only see you once you've started the jump. And at this point, it gets significantly harder to hit you. Oh, and it's also good to mix up your jumps, since coming from the same spot every time makes it easier for the target to see you coming. With that in mind, most of the jumps that I'll show today will come with some alternate routes. Here are some for the stair slide to Red's battlements. If you want to get to the blue battlements, then it's basically the same thing, only you can start in a slightly different spot. Again, the rocks still block the sightline, so they're still very useful. Here are some alternates to get to blue's battlements.
Man. Yeah, I can't wait to get this good where I'm just like fluent with the maps, jumping around, and it just looks so much fun. Because Soldier's probably my second favorite. I love Engineer. Engineer is probably my first favorite. I just love playing as Engineer. And then I really like Soldier, but he is like you said, he's like one of the slowest people in the game. So this just changes it, you know? I cannot wait to get to something like this.
It's also worth noting that the rocks can also block sightlines from other common sniper spots too. Namely, here, 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 and here. The most useful way to block a sightline, though, is when your target is near the rocks as well. These rocks are relatively tall, and they'll block your view no matter where you're standing, assuming the guy is on the other side of the rocks. You can use this to your advantage, since getting over the rocks for you is as simple as rocket jumping over it, whereas other people will either have to go around or do a series of jumps to get to the top. To effectively use this, though, we're gonna have to talk about something else. One super valuable thing that these rocks can give you is time. TF2 is such a fast-paced game that you often have to make a split-second decision on what to do, where to jump, stuff
Agreed,
like that. And if you make a bad decision, then it will very often lead to you dying. Now, like we talked about earlier, blocking your opponent's sightline will force them to do one of three things: chase you by going around or over the rocks, wait for you to come out, or run away. The first one gives you a massive advantage since where they will go is suddenly narrowed down to 3 options: here, here, or here. This makes predicting them much easier. Now, if they wait for you to come out, well, then you're at an advantage as well, since they're giving you time to set up a jump to escape or do something crazy to get a market garden. And finally, if they run away, well, we all know how backing away from a Trolldier works out.
Great pick onto Alakor. He just runs in and he almost escapes as well, but D5 again pulls out the Market Gardener. Wow, he slams on Bracken to the ground.
Seriously, stop backing up versus Market Gardener soldiers. It makes it easier for us to hit you. If you watch this video hoping to get some insight on how to counter Trolldiers and because you just hate getting Market Gardener or whatever, there's one thing you can take away from this video: stop backing up. Seriously. And now, if you're mad that I just gave away the biggest counter to Trolldiers, this opens up a whole nother set of mind games where you could potentially juke somebody by pretending to move underneath them and then moving back, making them strafe, and yeah. But basically, moving underneath them or pretending to move underneath them, it reduces the situation to effectively a 50-50 rather than a basically guaranteed Market Garden. But anyway, I digress. Blocking your opponent's sightline will always give you a bit more time to plan something out, regardless of which option they take. This makes these rocks one of your most valuable tools for playing mind games. If you can keep your opponent guessing, then it makes it much harder for them to deal with you. However, it's important to recognize that this is a bit of a double-edged sword. Blocking a sightline for your opponent also blocks it for you, which in a way puts you in the same situation as them. The main advantage you have is your mobility, thanks to your rocket jumper. This gives you more options to choose from, but it also means that things get more complicated with Trolldier battles, as well as fights against sticky jumper demos, detonator pyros, etc. In these cases, you're going to be relying much more heavily on prediction and baiting rather than covering a set of options. This is something that will improve as you spend more and more time playing Trolldier. Now, these first 2 sections are all well and good, but we have yet to cover the main reason why I wanted to make an entire video on this friggin' pile of rocks.
I was gonna say, man, like, there's literally a whole video on just rocks.
So the primary reason why these rocks are so amazing is that they are all varied and placed in such a way that you can incorporate them in your jumps in almost any situation. If you look at the various heights of the different rocks in the pile, you'll notice that there's a rock you can jump off of at almost any height. So no matter where you're coming from or how fast you're going or how high in the air you are, you can always extend your jumps with this. This can be useful for making escapes, dodging players, or giving yourself that little bit of extra distance that you need to get a Market Garden. Now, I'm going to be showing you a lot of jumps that you can do with these, but it's important to note that this video isn't the end-all be-all of how you can incorporate them into your jumps. That's what's so great about them. Each time you use them, it's like you're creating your own custom jump. This also means that they're great for mixing up jumps and staying unpredictable, which, as I've mentioned before, is hugely important when you're playing Trolldier. An important thing to note when you're using these rocks to extend your jump to get somewhere, you always have to keep in mind your end goal. Now, your end goal could be a person. However, a lot of the times your jumps aren't necessarily going to be after a person. They're going to be after a place. A lot of times you're going to be making blind jumps as Trolldier, and these can be partially based on predictions, but usually they're based on the fact that people tend to walk there a lot, you know? People just tend to walk in that area a lot. So if you jump to that area, then you're much more likely to encounter somebody and get a Market Garden.
Okay,
With
yeah,
that in
makes
mind,
sense,
the jumps that
makes
I'm going to be
sense.
covering today are ones that end in very common spots for people to walk. This can include health packs and ammo packs, a choke point, a common sniper spot, anything really. I'll explain it when I get to the specific jump. So, now, with that intro out of the way, let's cover some useful jumps that I've found that incorporate these rocks.
Ooh. Okay, low sniper spot. Man, dude, he is just flying across. Okay, okay. Just scooting, dude. Oh, okay, okay, the cart. Oh, okay.
So those were just a few examples of the useful spots that these rocks can get you to. If you want to practice these by yourself, there's actually a really easy way to do that. In order to do this, you're gonna have to have access to the developer console, which you can find in the advanced options menu. First, you're gonna want to enter this command line: bind mouse 1 plus attack impulse 101, with the exact syntax that's shown on the screen. Basically, this has your mouse 1 key shoot your weapon like normal, but it also executes the impulse 101 command, which refills your health and ammo every time you press it. Now, fortunately, this won't affect your normal gameplay, since an impulse command only works if cheats are enabled. This brings us to our next command, SV cheats 1.
Yeah, he was talking about this in the last
Pretty
video.
Self-explanatory, and it enables cheats, so the impulse command becomes enabled. And finally, you can load up an empty offline server by typing map PLR Hightower. This is going to load up Hightower, and you can rocket jump all over the place as much as you want. This is fantastic for practicing map-specific jumps, as well as messing around with different launchers and timings and stuff. I've got around 2,500 hours in TF2, and I'd say about 400 of those hours were spent in offline servers, which, now that I think about it, is kind of a terrible ratio for the time spent practicing to actual skill. Anyway, now remember, there's no way I could cover all of the possible jumps with these rocks, and there's undoubtedly some wacky use case out there that I just completely missed, which is why I definitely recommend you go and try it yourself. Go load up Hightower and lab out some jumps. Have fun with it. And for those of you who are about to ask me, did you seriously just make a 10-minute video on a stupid boulder? The only thing I have to say to you is, it's not just a boulder. It's a goddamn rock.
I love his humor, man. Oh, so funny. The sellout section, dude. I love it. I love it. Okay, once again, that was Soundsmith, and as always, I'll put the original video link down below if you can go check it out for yourself. That was the next part in the How to Trolldier series, of course. I don't know exactly how many there are of this series. Probably, I think there was like 9 or 10 or something like that. But yeah, let me know down below if you can see me continue to watch it. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like, man. It really, really helps out the channel here. It helps new people see the video, as well as it lets me know if you guys want to continue to see that type of video. So that's all I got for you, man. I will see you in the next video. And do not forget, it's Orc Army for life.